So thank you very much, Carl. Again, appreciate the insights there and the first-hand experiences. So as you noticed, we moved through those presentations quickly and efficiently. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to take the long walk over to the other side of the room, and we have some time for you, the audience, your questions. We think this is a very valuable part of the day, so we will likely move into our networking break a little bit. So we'll do that now. Okay, so maybe if you have a question, just put up your hand. If you can just raise your voice a little bit, but if you just mention your name and your organization, then proceed with your question. We'll have the panel respond to it. JD, we'll take your question, please.
John David Conway, JD. I work with Global Affairs Canada. I've heard our Olympies, our Office of Liaison with the IFI, their offices in each country that has a head office of a bank. So these are Canadian Trade Commission representatives. And I've heard them say that in IFI projects, it's often the case that your competitor makes you more competitive to partner with them. And I think, so we've heard Stantec say that. I think that's what I was hearing, that you're partnering with MMM and that they could be seen as a competitor in some projects, but here it's made you're a bit more competitive. Is that, would anyone on the panel say yes or no to that observation?
So if I could start, since, so my general comment would be is that at one point in time in Stantec's history, we didn't partner. This goes back some 15 years ago. We had large egos. Still do. But we learned that the world has moved on. People are looking for better teams, and our attitude has become it's better to share a pie than have none of a big pie. And the challenge, of course, is finding people to share with that have a similar sort of attitude. Often one of the challenging things, and this goes even for projects, well, especially for projects in Canada and the United States, is everybody wants to lead, everybody wants to be the star. In some cases, I think you're far better off, especially when you're moving into a market you don't know, both geographically and discipline-wise, to follow along and learn from somebody else. I think it's great advice.
Thanks, Carl. Anybody else have comments there? Suresh, I know you and Carl have been going back and forth here a little bit.
No, we have a healthy banter, and I fully endorse what you say. Is this on? Yeah. That's the approach at MMM. Also, we MMM WSP. There might have been some periods, or sometime there comes a time when you try to do everything by yourself, saying you get solution to all the problems. But no, the second, third, sober thirds prevail, and then we go in the team. I mean, we. In fact, one of the, particularly in the context of the IFIs, our philosophy is that if we don't think something is right or the budget isn't right in the case of competition, we like to take it, that was my comment, we take it to the client or the agencies saying this is what we feel. I mean, we do believe that we can do a service to themselves and us also if we be upfront to what we believe is right. Okay.
And Geeta?
Yeah, sometimes we partner with organizations and sometimes we're competitors. It's really whatever works for that situation, and we just treat it as no hard feelings, and we continue to work together depending on the situation. Sometimes the firms that we partner with just don't have as strong a balance sheet to meet the basic pre-qualification to do it, and they just partner with us because we bring that stability and that financial acumen to the table.
Okay, well said. Thank you. I see a hand in the back row here, please.
Good afternoon, Colin Falls from DTY Group. I'm just keen to hear from the panel, it's another partnering related question, but we've partnered for projects in Tel Aviv and various other countries, or cities and various places. But one thing that we're very skeptical of is entering into that partnership with somebody that we don't know very well. How do you go about finding the people you partner with? And if it's somewhere where you're not familiar with the consultants, how do you kind of narrow that down?
Yeah, well said. So homework on a partner. Maybe Robin and Thomas, do you guys want to start on that question?
Yeah, definitely. We at MHI, we actually have a standard process we go through to due diligence on companies. We have a team of lawyers that will go through a process and a checklist to actually make sure that the companies we're planning to partner with meet certain criteria. We do also go through standard World Bank research guidelines to find out if they're barred in certain countries and whatnot. Obviously, we want to make sure we're not exposing ourselves to that type of situation. And we also do ask that any company that wishes to partner with us fill out a standard 4 or 5 page survey to give us information about their background, what sort of services they offer, and also balance sheet information as well.
Gita?
Sometimes the way we'll approach it is we will hire a particular person as a sub-consultant. And that's a way to get used to working with a firm without entering into a full partnership agreement. And so we'll do a smaller project with them, and we'll get a sense of how they work, and then that gives us more confidence to go on maybe in a second phase to a more formal relationship. We say let's date first before we get married.
So Stantec has a similar arrangement to MHI, is that we have a formal process of vetting people we work with. We really avoid joint ventures. As a larger firm, one of our concerns is that we're perceived as having the deeper pockets, and so yes, it's a joint venture, but it's our pockets that are going to get picked, not the other person. But it does come down to and why we don't do a lot of projects in countries where we don't have relationships or history is it's about the person you're working with. Even if it's a larger entity, are you comfortable with that person, and would you feel comfortable being seen on the front page of the newspaper with them? And so we really struggle with that, and there is no easy technical checklist answer to it. You can satisfy yourself that the firm hasn't been caught or done anything that's obvious. Having said that, it doesn't mean that they aren't inclined to that kind of thing.
Well, agreeing with everything predecessor said, one thing I would like to add for IFI is that what we tend to do is go into the bank's website and see which firms have been successful for a similar, scope before. Both, preferably we look within Canada and outside in the country of operation too. That's one of the resources we look up.
Good best practices. Question right here, please.
Yes, thank you. Clifford Spear from ATCO. Getting to the financial side and risk, how do you, as companies having done business through the IFIs or with organizations being funded by the IFIs, how do you guarantee payment or provide as high a level of assuredness as you can of getting paid for the services or the work that you've done? What kind of financial backup do you create? Is it bank notes or what?
Good question. Once.
Okay.
Our CFO,
Sure.
I thought would
I'll jump on that one right away. The very first thing we do is we go to the EDC and work with them right away. Like it's the name of the insurance, the name of the product to me is just hilarious. It's called frustration insurance, and that is insurance on your collectibles, on your receivables. So that's one of the first things we do. Another strategy that we use is, and this involves the local partners. So when we partner with a group or an organization in a certain country, in our agreement with them, we tell them that when we get paid by the donor, we will pay you. We're partners, we're in this together. You're not going to get paid before we get paid. And that ensures that we have someone on the ground who is constantly checking up, where's the payment, following up all the time. And it creates a leverage with them to be able to do that. And that's a strategy that's worked very well for us over the years.
Good point.
And just to echo what Gita said, for MHI, we found it extremely successful having regional partners and constantly being on the clients for receivables.
Exactly.
We find that some of our issues with receivables are in countries where we don't have that local presence all the time.
Yeah, so true.
Thank you.
That'll cost you after.
Yeah.
I was curious, there's so much emphasis being put on the importance of the local partner, local companies. Do you have any tips in terms of the types of due diligence like you do or you conduct? You know, I understand, I'm sure there's a personal relationship that you want to develop there, but if you're new to market, how do you start to look at who you should consider as a partner? And have you ever reached out to the multilaterals to give you their insider kind of perspective on a potential local partner? I did receive some comments that perhaps they would provide kind of a short list of companies you should consider if you know, you're a Canadian company that they would love to work with and they want to ensure that you partner with the right companies. They may be able to provide you with some insights into the companies that you should consider. And have you ever experienced that yourselves?
So, of course, the IFIs are not allowed to make recommendations. What they can do, and what we have done, is gotten a list of firms that have successfully done work for them before, of which one then infers that if the name isn't on the list, maybe you should read something into it. But in the age of the internet, it's pretty easy to follow up on people. If you know the name of the firm and the ownership, you can quickly find out the ownership, and then you can follow around. And, a lot of, well, there's not any different here. Newspapers and so on are quick to spread all kinds of gossip and so on. Whether it's true or not, doesn't really matter if you're worried about your reputation. You know, I can say that I personally had nearly had relationships with people in Canada that I pride myself on having got out of before they turned into a problem because we did that kind of research. It just is a little bit more difficult when you're not local and you're relying on, I'll say, the internet. But that's all you can do, really. And maybe if you have any inkling that there's an issue, you should walk away. As I've often said, there's 260 countries in the world. You don't have to work where there's a civil war or where corruption is endemic. You can be somewhat choosy.
Good point. Shane, I think you had a question too?
You know, a number of times I work with companies who ask how important it is to have a presence where the multilateral organization is located, whether in Washington, Stantec has an office in Virginia or around that region. Gita, you mentioned Gatineau, right across the street from GAC. How important is having a presence there to getting the opportunities that those institutions are funding?
I'll let you go first.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think, again, it goes back to relationships. And when you run into people on the street and when you can say, hey, are you free to have a coffee? This is something that Kathleen was alluding to this morning, was some of the informal work that you can do on relationship building. And then when you run into these people, they can say, oh, I'm working on a proposal in this country. And sometimes that's how we find out that there's work that's going to happen there, and then we start strategically thinking about it. We start sizing ourselves up and seeing whether we've got what it takes to bid on something like that, and then we start phoning the partners, potential partners, that might work in those situations. And it's invaluable. If you can get to a potential partner first, then you just have that much more likelihood of success.
In Stantec's case, our offices in Ottawa and Gatineau and Virginia and Washington, D.C. itself have little or nothing to do with international work. So they don't offer any particular advantage for us. If we had someone that was, I'll call it a business development officer, obviously we would post them in Washington if that's what their focus was international IFI type work. We don't have anything, so there is no advantage to us when we need to go to the IDB or the World Bank or whatever. Then we need to get a couple of people on a plane or a train, depending on where they're coming from, to go there. So I agree that it would be a lot easier if we had someone around and talking to the same sector people in some of these organizations on a more regular basis than we do. But what I heard earlier today and reinforced the perception that I had is that it's really the country managers that are much more important, and they're not in Ottawa or Washington.
Yeah, this more or less going to echo that. For us, we found that it's much more effective to actually have boots on the ground in the countries you wish to operate. You're going to get a lot more insights into what sort of projects are in the pipeline in the coming years. MHI has tried in the past to post business development people close to the IFIs, but as a matter of fact, it really hasn't been a successful strategy for us. What we've really focused on is being nimble in the proposal writing process. Knowing what sort of appetite you have for risk before these RFPs get issued, knowing where you will and won't operate. That's sort of the approach we've taken in being efficient.
And from MMM's perspective, regular communications, yes. Physical presence, no. That's how it had been our case.
Well, good comments from everybody in the panel. I'm cognizant of our time, so we can have a break here before we go into our next session. But again, I just want to mention to everybody on our panel, all our speakers, thank you again for your time and effort you put into those presentations. And I'm sure, speaking for most of us in the room, we look forward to engaging with you the rest of today and tomorrow as well. So thank you. And thank you for those of you in the audience as well. And now we'll move into a 15-minute break and look forward to getting started again at